Let's say, right, you get married and then your parents expect to move into your matrimonial home with you, your BTO or whatever it is. Wait, why the loud sigh?
No, I think I. Hi, Hazelle.
Hey, Azura.
And I'm Germaine.
And welcome back to another episode of Clevities.
Hush Podcast. So today on Hush Podcast, we're actually going to unpack the concept of filial piety. More, specifically, who's responsible for taking care of our parents and who's responsible of taking care of us when we grow old.
And it's a big thing in Asia, especially.
In the Eastern culture. Because
Yes.
in Western culture, it's different, right? Usually when kids are 18 years old, they move out and they kind of never go back to the nest.
Yes, they turn 18, their parents are sent
Yeah,
off.
parents actually want them to move out.
Yeah, they're like, please, off.
Like,
Yes.
please find a space outside.
Exactly.
Whereas in the Asian context, I feel like our parents would never want us to move out unless we are married.
Actually,
think so?
have
But
you
you
asked your
moved
parents?
out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved out, but they were very unwilling for me to move out. And in fact, they always want me back,
But your sibling moved out as well.
Because my brother is married, so he moved out.
Yeah.
But my sister is not, so he's still staying together with my parents. And just yesterday, my sister told me in private that my mom told her that she's very thankful that my sister still lives with them.
Oh.
I felt so heartbroken when I heard that because my mom thinks that, the second daughter, the third son, they're both out already. So left with
Yeah.
the eldest daughter.
Yeah, I think filial piety is very big in Asian culture,
For sure.
especially, right? And you think about this like complicated relationship we have with our parents. When we grow old, or when they grow old, do we have to support them financially, monetarily? But let me ask you guys first: what do you think filial piety means to you?
I think it means spending time with them and making sure they know that they're loved by me. I don't have to be physically staying with them, but I have to just spend time with them, maybe every weekend, if I can, to the best of my ability.
I think while they are your parents, it's like everything else as well, where there are many different ways to do it, show it, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to live with them. But I think in this side of the world especially, because it's always been that way, right? And also because of, I guess, it's expensive to own a place and things like that. So yeah, it's become very natural that, until a certain age, you live with your parents, they expect you around. It feels like you are there to help them out with the little things, the daily stuff.
It's the way to show love, right? Not just by living with them. You guys know who Confucius is?
Yes.
Of course.
What's his Chinese name?
孔子.
Kongzi. I would like to quote the Kongzi right now.
Correct.
Kongzi
Wait, am I
says-
right? Right. Okay,
Confucius says there are 3 degrees of filial piety.
Okay.
The highest is being a credit to our parents, so like making them proud. The second is not disgracing them.
Okay, at least we are there.
And the lowest form of filial piety is being able to simply support them. So supporting them
It's the basic.
emotionally or financially is the basic. And the very top is making them proud. Yeah, so Confucius has a point, but yes, there are many different forms of filial piety, right? Some acts include obeying your parents' wishes. Like if your parents say, don't go out tonight, and then you go out tonight, that's not filial piety.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Taking care of them when they're old, working hard to provide them with material comfort such as food money or pampering, or even giving them a monthly allowance such that maybe they can retire earlier or they don't have to work so hard in order to support themselves, right? These are commonly viewed as displays of filial piety in Singapore. I've had family friends and all that who have to give monthly allowance to their parents, right?
Okay.
But their parents view their kids as more of a retirement plan. Where in a sense, if I want to stop working at any time, I'm just going to stop. You guys have to support me, not just in my basic necessities, but if I want to
Whatever
buy
I
a
want.
watch, I want to buy a Rolex watch or a material thing, you have to chip in because you are my kid. What do you think of that then? Where they view kids as a retirement plan.
Here's the thing, right? First of all, I know people have different views about this, but I feel like if you're going to have kids, you need to know that, or you need to be ready that they don't owe you anything.
Okay.
If they do it, they do. If they don't, it was a choice that you made to have them.
What do you feel, Hazy?
I can feel the TikTokers coming at us for this already.
Enough lah, enough lah.
Well, I feel like to a certain extent, Azura is right. But I can't deny that a lot of parents think that they bear kids to create sort of a path for themselves when they are old and they are sick, there's someone to take care of them.
Yeah.
But I agree, when you give birth to kids, you have to be ready that they have their own lives that they want to lead. Who's to say that they will stay in Singapore, by your side forever? They can very well migrate elsewhere, start their own lives elsewhere, and a lot of parents would be happy for their kids if they choose to do so, right?
So I think a lot of people say, right? I mean, based on what you guys are covering, that your parents didn't leave you when you were young, so don't leave them when they are old.
Yeah.
Which is a very heartbreaking thing to hear.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah?
But I also feel like I don't like it when there are obligations, Like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Sure.
But don't tell me
But
I'm
don't feel
obligated
entitled to it?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it seems like, the least you can do, according to Confucius, is give back to them for raising you in any way. Doesn't have to just be monetarily. It can be through love, through spending time with them and all that. So when you girls first started your proper job, right, where you earn your own keep, did you feel like you had to give your parents a monthly allowance?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, for sure. Because for my entire life, I've seen my father give my grandma money every single month. So I was brought up this way. Since he is so filial to my grandmother, I want to be the same way as he is. Of course, I'm not saying that the only way to be filial is to give them monthly allowance, right? But I feel like this is a little something that I can do, then why not?
So how many percent of your monthly salary, is there like a, golden rule for how much you
Right.
should give back to them?
Okay, I feel like our jobs are a bit more different. Our monthly income every month is very flexible.
It fluctuates, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
sometimes very, very vastly. So I feel like 10% of my basic salary is a must give.
Okay.
Okay, 10%. And I'll split 50-50 lah. I'll give my mom and my dad the exact same amount of money. But on certain months where I earn a bit more, then or if I get my bonus, for example, I'll bring them out for a meal or just give them extra that month.
Confucius would be very proud of her.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice.
What about you, Zura? Do you, participate in that act? No, be honest. I mean,
Yes,
it's
I
fine.
give money every
Oh,
month.
you do? You
I
do?
I
Okay,
do.
okay. Is there like a rule or?
No, I think at the start I just sort of like feel a bit like what is like a okay amount to give, like not so shabby lah, right? Yeah. And then I sort of just did that.
Okay.
I have a friend, he has a single mom, so grew up in a single parent family. And every month he gives his mother $1,500.
Wow.
To me, that is a lot.
That's 10% of his salary.
No,
Who is he? I'm
I
gonna
don't
call
think
him-
so. I think that's at least
Wow.
30% of his salary, at least.
Wow.
That's incredible.
But yeah, he tells me that, because his mom worked so hard to raise him single-handedly, this is the least he can do. And I'm just like, wow, respect, really.
That's the highest degree. Of
You see,
filial
right?
piety.
This is also where I feel like you reap what you sow.
Huh?
Okay, I mean, we have to be honest, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone have the best of relationships with their parents.
Okay.
Sure.
Not every parent have done right by their children.
Understand.
And
Fair.
I think you can't expect what you didn't give out of your kids. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I think you can't expect
Wow.
them to give you this, or a certain level of this and that just because you have the title parents.
That's a hot take. But let me one up
I'm
you
scared.
by saying that you know how after a divorce, alimony, you are legally obliged to
Right.
pay that, right? Did you know that in Singapore there is a legal obligation? No matter if your parents treated you well or like shit, there's something called the Maintenance of Parents Act, which allows elderly or needy parents in Singapore to claim maintenance from their children who are capable of supporting them but not doing so.
Okay?
Yes, so the law protects the elderly and the older generation, and they can claim it in like a form of a monthly sum or a
All right.
periodic sum.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
pretty good.
I never knew that this
Yeah.
existed, to be honest.
But wouldn't things be a bit ugly if it gets to this state?
Of course.
Yes.
If you have to go through the law,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really, complicated
Heartbreaking.
family situation. For sure. But of course, okay, this is monetarily. Personally, I don't give my parents monthly allowance, but I try to do it in other ways, like take them out for meals or spend more time with them, right? Honestly, all they want is like quality time with me.
Correct.
Because also work is very busy. So just having a meal at home or spending time with them. But let's say, right, you get married and then your parents expect to move into your matrimonial home with you, your BTO or whatever it is. Wait. Why the loud sigh?
No, I think I I
You can't accept
I will
that.
seriously consider that, but I will explore other options. And if it comes down to the last resort, of course I will like gladly take them in lah.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like after getting married, it's your own life with your other half, and you're gonna be starting your own family. I can accept like staying close with my
Okay,
parents,
okay. Like
But
neighbours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Even like upstairs, downstairs, or like side by side. That's fine. But if it's in the same space, I'm just afraid it complicates things just a bit.
Understand?
But if
Okay.
you were a single child, then your parents got nowhere to go.
Or
You want them to
single
stay
child
alone?
lah. Close by lah.
Okay.
Yeah, I will get a flat very nearby them. So by foot, every day we can still meet for dinner. But I believe your personal space is very important.
What if, okay, if it's your parents, it's fine, right? It's a little bit easier for you to work it out. What if,
My other half's parents,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
then it's up to him.
like, what if he really wants them to stay with you?
Then he must have good reason.
But what if he says, they're my parents and that's enough of a reason?
You're making it very difficult for her, you know. I don't know.
No, legit, got your story on that before.
She's sweating already.
Wow, that's really, really very tough.
Yeah.
Must work it out, lor. I think this is no longer like a filial piety issue already. It's between you and your partner, like the
It's true.
communication that you have, right?
Yeah, it's true, it's true. So basically, when you get into a relationship or you're on your first date, right, ask them, do you want your parents to move in with us after you get married? Just
The fella
get
was like,
that
"Whoa."
out of the way, yeah. If they say it's a hard yes, right, walk away from the date.
If it's not for you lah.
Go
Yeah,
home,
yeah, yeah,
try again tomorrow. But yes, okay, actually there's this Reddit post where a Singaporean Redditor shared this, right? The best gift that parents can give themselves and their children is being financially independent after retirement.
Oh, I fully agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
But
I
you
agree.
just said that you are giving money to your parents.
Correct, but that's
Correct.
an additional bonus. They don't need my monthly allowance, by the
Correct.
way.
They're not
they're-
reliant on it.
Correct. In fact, they find ways to give back to me. Like I'm flying in a few days' time. My mom just gave me like this ang pao. She says it's a 一路顺风红包 for me to like have a safe flight and stuff. She basically gave me back the monthly allowance that I gave to her. So they're always finding ways to make sure I'm well supported. Like they don't need my money, but I know that they feel touched whenever I give it to them.
Okay. So do you feel like, I mean, monetarily, okay, financially independent after retirement, health-wise, if they need like a caregiver, like for example, my grandma has dementia and stuff like that, they need a caregiver. What about in that situation?
I know of families of which like where the parent or the old person has like savings that are enough, right? And then I know in those families like they will sort of like use that money
To cover.
for like a caregiver,
Yeah.
a helper, whatever it is. But I think that one a bit no choice leh. Like as a child, if there was no reserves or anything like that, it's either you do it yourself or you pay for someone. No?
Like I have a friend whose mom needs to be on a feeding tube. So they had to buy a hospital bed, put it at home, and obviously living in their matrimonial home because she needs to be taken care of every day, and he didn't want her to live on her own with just a caregiver.
Oh, that's so sweet of him.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, I think like Zura said, it's a bit no choice, and you want to maximize the amount of time that you have with your parent in that sense. But this is the children's responsibility, right? This is what we're talking about. Let's switch a little bit to something a bit more societal level.
Okay.
Do you guys think that the government should be responsible of taking care of our parents?
To a certain extent, I think yes. This is where our CPF comes in, right? Our MediSave and all of
Yes.
that. Because then we'll have that sum of money we need to provide for us. If one day we know we are old, we have children, sure, but we need to go to the hospital. And then that's when we can use our own funds without touching our children's savings.
Actually, there's a poll done by the Institute of Policy Studies. 69% of people rank the government as either first or second in importance for being responsible of taking care of older people in society.
Wow.
Because the researchers there actually believe that the capacity of us, the community, individual people, right, may not be enough to support the elderly, and it's insufficient, for us to bear this responsibility fully. So I guess we are very lucky that we live in a country where, there are systems in place that acknowledge, they are responsible in some level.
I think because there are also many different levels of society. So, what someone needs, even if the kids want to care for them, do whatever they can for them, they may not be able to,
Yeah.
because there are limitations as well. So I think that's where the government comes into play.
I think on an individual level, it's us taking care of our parents.
Yeah.
Societal, governmental level, it's policies. Then there's community level, right? What's community level? I'll give you guys an example. So you know of How Much, right? So my family's grocery store. So we actually partnered with this app called Cara, CARA. What they do is that they offer support to patients with dementia and their caregivers. Because if you think about it, people with dementia, like my grandma, right? She has walked out of her house and gotten lost.
Right.
On her own. She needs a caregiver with her at all times. She doesn't remember things. She doesn't remember, names and her own address and stuff like that. So by supporting, these people on a community level, where it could be me or you or even Zura coming up with ideas like that to support the elderly people. I think that is a very beautiful thing. Yeah, and we should give them all the support we can.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, about 72% of people rank the community as either third or last of four choices on delivering such care. Actually, that's quite a high percentage, no?
72%.
Yeah, that's quite a high percentage.
So do you think that it's a collective responsibility on all of our parts to watch out for the elderly? Like even just, let's say crossing the road, they need help. Something as simple
for
as
sure.
that. Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's not about elderly or not, but it's just a very human thing. On a human level, you should just look out for each other, right?
Yeah.
Care and support for each other. But I feel like, government aside, community aside, your children aside, first of all, it is our own responsibility to take care of ourselves. I know of some of my aunties and uncles, they go out for walks or jogs every evening just to make sure that they are in good shape, so that they don't have their muscles weaken and they will face not being able to walk, situations like that in the future.
So
And that's
staying
great.
active
Yes, correct.
on your own part. Okay. Well, what about how can we care and support for the aging population? Which means 65 and older, which honestly my parents are
Close.
very close to that age already.
Okay.
Because 1 in 5 people in Singapore are 65 or older. Wow. Yeah. So what are some ways that, we can support the aging population? I think one of them is volunteering. Community-based social support, right? I used to volunteer at this place called Willing Hearts, where they pack food for aging nursing homes and all that, and then they send it out. So you go to their warehouse in the morning and you help them pack all the food, and then you can also offer to deliver it to the nursing homes.
Oh, that's very
Yeah.
sweet. I think another way to pitch in is to do activities together with the elderly. Whatever they like. Some of them may like gardening, painting, singing, whatever. Just spend time, play the ukulele with them, sing with them, make them happy. I think this is something money can never achieve.
Absolutely. I think they are also, lonely sometimes. They feel I think at a certain age, you feel like you've always been so useful to the community, to the people around you. And then it hits a certain point where you feel like, oh, you're not very wanted, you're not very needed, you're more of a liability. So I think that helps to assure them that, they're still very useful. You can talk to them and ask them for wisdom. I'm sure they feel appreciated.
Yes.
I think one thing that helps them feel more in touch with society is digital literacy. I mean, most of them barely know how to use a landline. And when you think about smartphones, they are so complicated for them. And some of these tech companies, they actually do how to use smartphone 101 classes. Where it teaches them how to set up their phones, how to contact their grandkids and all that, how to use FaceTime. So a lot of things like that helps them with digital literacy. If you can go teach your grandma how to use, I don't know, TikTok.
Got many
grandparents on TikTok, they're so cool.
And my mom, she uses Shopee because they have these little games, right? I don't know what, spot the difference,
collect,
or
coins,
you
is
can
it?
water your plants. And she does that because then she gets more vouchers, right? So there's an incentive to her, but at the same time she's forcing herself to learn new things, how to use apps like Shopee, Lazada, Instagram, whatever you name it.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Or even teaching them how to use FaceTime. Because when my dad uses FaceTime, right, the video is on, but he'll be like, hello? And all I see is the inside of his ear. I'm like, Dad, put away from your face. Especially when I was living overseas, I'm like, put it away from your face. Yeah, so things like that. Or even parents that can request for daytime caregivers on certain apps. Like, you know how young people, right, we sometimes book like cleaning services on apps.
yeah.
Yeah, so parents, if they feel like they need a caregiver for that particular day to help them with grocery shopping, they can book it.
And they can do so themselves on their
Yes.
phones. And that's the best part.
That's amazing. Eh?
How about encouraging a diverse and inclusive workforce? Right?
Yes.
Where you hire seniors in suitable roles. You know, we like to go out, right?
Yeah.
And we always see this old auntie
Okay.
cleaning the
Yes.
toilet at the club. And she's been there
At the what?
at the club. She's been there. No, trust, guys. She's been there since Zook was at Jiak Kim. She's
Oh.
been working at Zook for like 20 years probably. And she's there every single week. And I think that's just incredible.
She must have seen it all.
Oh, she's definitely seen it all. No, but I think, you could very easily hire someone younger.
Yes.
Right? You could very easily just say goodbye to this auntie. But you kept her around.
Yeah.
And I think that shows, a very inclusive workforce.
Yeah, and some seniors, they probably have to work, to support themselves.
Yeah.
Some, they want to work to just, remain relevant. They still want to just be active, exercise and use their minds and stuff like that. So I think that should be an option because I think they still have a lot to offer, whatever level of work it is.
Right. Hey, speaking of workforce and tying back to what we said about volunteering just now, I know certain companies, they also have this policy where if your employees do like volunteer work for like 3 days, they get 2 additional days of annual leave.
Do we have that?
Do we have that?
I think MediaCorp has this policy,
Let's
I
see.
think so.
Let's see.
Right. So I'm not saying that you should do like voluntary work just for the
leave.
for the additional AL, but it's a good first step.
It's an incentive.
Yeah.
Some workplaces also offer this thing called, there's childcare leave. So they offer parent care leave. So it's not like compassionate leave. It's not that. It's parent care.
Oh, sometimes they call it family care leave.
Family care leave.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think that's great. If any employers or bosses listening right now, you might want to consider or check HR if you have that policy.
Oui.
Yeah, but at the very least, keep an eye out for elderly people in your neighborhood when you're walking on the street. If they need help opening a door or,
Right.
if they're on a wheelchair and they
Carrying
need
stuff.
help, opening the lift, please, have the kindness in your heart to do so.
Yeah.
That's the least we can do, lah. But we also understand that like, taking care of our elderly parents, they can be financially draining. For caregivers especially, also it's very physically taxing. And that said, there are subsidies and social support in places to tide over a short-term financial difficulties.
Okay.
We have a lot of these. One of them is the Silver Support Scheme. It's a quarterly cash supplement to seniors who had low incomes during their working years. Therefore, they have less, in their CPF or savings for retirement now.
That's right.
I think there's also something called ComCare Long-Term Assistance, or LTA. It provides long-term support to those permanently unable to work due to old age, illness, disability, or they have like inadequate family support or savings.
That's right. There's also this thing called Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels.
So cute.
Yeah.
MOW for short. They provide meal deliveries to like homebound clients who are unable to buy or even prepare their own meals and do not have a caregiver to help them to do so.
Actually, every year around Christmas, right, what we'll do is we'll pack groceries and then we'll send them to household to household.
very
So
cute.
usually what we do is we ring the bell and knock on the door. If they don't answer, we just hang it outside. But most of these elderly, right, they are more happy to see us and talk to us than just receiving like the rice or whatever. They will just stand there like, hi, Halma, like, how are you guys? Like, wow, thank you so much. And like, just be able to interact with them, you see the happiness on their face, right? Because sometimes they're very isolated or they live alone. And I've seen the conditions in which they live in. So you never know, organize these things within your own friend groups, your own communities, and go out and support them. There's also something called the Seniors Mobility and Enabling Fund. It provides subsidies of up to 90% for seniors for like mobility and assistive devices. So it could be a wheelchair or something like that.
Yes, and very importantly, I think what we need to do right now in our current generation from today is to think what we really want for our future and what changes we can make now to create this sort of positive impact. It's not just a me problem, right? As we mentioned just now, Singapore is facing a rapidly aging population. Many places are facing like low birth rates. We're talking like Japan, Korea, and slowing social mobility. So it's becoming more necessary to come together and give back to our community.
That's right. I mean, it's important to tackle these problems on a social or community level rather than just individually to create a future that we want to be prepared for, right? Because we're going to be old one day, guys. we can't just be selfish and think, I'm young, I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, and you know how like nowadays, I've heard this a lot recently, of which people think of our generation now as the generation that spends, doesn't plan for our future, does whatever we want, and like have no savings. I've heard this a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. So people think that of us. So I think it's also important to, you want to have fun, like to think of the future that you want to have as well.
That's true. And by understanding the care and support that elderly people need, right, you can kind of prep yourself up for what you
Correct.
need
Exactly.
in the future.
Yes.
Exactly. So since I was young, right, my mom has bought me insurance. This is something that she's taught me as well. And looking at her, I'm sure she's very well prepared for herself as well. If anything happens, touch wood, then she will have something to fall back on, which is her insurance.
Exactly. I mean, another thing that you can do is also lead a healthy lifestyle
Right.
today. I mean, it's a bit ironic for us to say. I mean, Hazy, maybe you can say, because I say people don't believe.
Try to cut down your sugar, guys, okay? I think it really makes a huge difference to me every day. Like last time I used to have a cup of tea, you guys know it, so much condensed milk and evaporated milk in it. But after I tried to cut down, the first 3 months, it was tough for me. But after that, I started to feel myself get more and more energetic every day.
Really?
Because the sugar can really slow you down. You know?
Because you crash.
Correct. And your body will take longer to sort of break down those sugars.
Yeah.
Another important thing, cut down on your sodium as well. Not saying don't take sodium, but everything in
But
moderation.
I like soya sauce.
I know, I love it too. Soya sauce with my chili padi. I love anything that's salty. But as what I was saying, you don't have to cut it out completely. Just have it in moderation.
Exactly. So you can also start proper financial planning, retirement planning, so that you can avoid being financially reliant on your kids or on other people.
Correct.
Like ensuring that you get enough CPF. If maybe you don't collect enough CPF at your job, how can you then put aside every month, a part of your salary?
Right.
That counts as your CPF in the future. Put it in a fixed deposit account such that you can't touch it.
Right.
Getting the right healthcare coverage, which we also talked about.
And if you're like me, someone who is very bad at financial planning, why not get someone to do it for you? I'm not good at financial
You are like
planning.
best friends with your financial planners.
That's why I have a financial planner.
right.
So I have to engage someone to do it for
Yes.
me. Albeit I have
Okay.
to pay like 3% of the admin or like the charges. But yeah, that is better than investing all your money into something that you're not even sure of and losing all of them, right?
Yeah.
So always check with your financial planner, no matter what you need to get done. Is it like your CPF concerns, MediSave, MediShield, anything, a professional will be there to help you.
Yep.
All right, with that, thank you for joining us on this episode of Clevities Podcast. Follow us on Instagram for more at isclevity.co.
That's right. You can listen to us on Spotify, Me Listen, Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to turn on the notifications.
Yes, you can also watch us on YouTube. I know a lot of you like to watch us on TikTok. You can go there and leave a comment. Thank you very much.
I'm Hazelle.
I'm Azura.
I'm Germaine.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Just have it in moderation.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Correct.
Hey, you got some tips also, huh, Azura? Come.
Come. Yes. Okay.